So let's just jump back a little bit further. It sounds like you moved back to Bulgaria when you were 10. Is that right?
Correct. Wow.
And then a few years later you came back to America.
Correct.
So that means by about middle school you had just been back. Like, do we call this home? Did it feel like home, Bulgaria?
Yeah, I feel like both were home in different ways because, those are the formative years. So I was born in Bulgaria, and then we immigrated to Canada when I was 2. So at the time, I wouldn't have called it home in Bulgaria because I didn't really remember anything.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we went back when I was about 10 until I was 12, I was, those are very, I was very aware of those years. And it was very strange. Fun because it was like a new adventure, but also looking back, I now see how strange it must have been for my, formative years to have gone through that.
What was it like to return to Canada?
So, I spoke Bulgarian at home. My parents didn't let us speak English in the house.
Wow.
But then when I got to Bulgaria, I realized that it was very broken compared to everyone else. And because of the fact that the European education system is just far ahead, they bumped me back 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So I was going to school with kids 2 years younger than me.
Whoa.
Wow.
Which was really obviously awkward and uncomfortable and weird, but they were sweet and it was fine. But then after school I would have to go to tutoring to try to catch up.
Yeah.
So I definitely felt really stupid.
Well, and to me that sounds really
time,
demoralizing and frustrating. Yeah, hard because it's this is not your first language anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean I feel like that feels like it would be very just emotional.
Yeah, it didn't feel great at the time. I remember feeling sort of less than compared to everyone. But then, I had the support. It's not like people were mean as far as I can remember, unless they were so mean that I blocked it out and I'm actually traumatized by it. I don't know.
There's that sweet spot.
What's the difference?
Yeah. Still have some therapy to do there, so we'll report back. But, the weirder part, or maybe it balanced out because to answer your original question, when I did eventually go back to Canada, everything I had learned, now I was suddenly ahead compared to my peers in Canada.
Right.
Minus the language part, but in terms of what math they were doing and all the subjects, they were doing multiplication and division and all these crazy things in kindergarten and first grade there.
Wow.
So when I came back, I actually advanced, and so then I was all of a sudden got my confidence boost back up,
Right in time.
Myself.
Right in time for junior high.
But I sort of forgot English a little bit. English was awkward for me because I hadn't practiced in so long. So then I had to not relearn English, but sort of, kind of get used to it again and get used to seeing all my friends again. And, it'd been 2 years since I'd seen them.
So, that actually sounds like it was just many years of feeling a bit destabilized.
For sure.
Yeah.
But, everything has a positive and a negative. It was definitely destabilizing looking back on it. But at the same time, I think in the moment it was a fun adventure. Like I mentioned before, it was going to a new place and meeting new people. And my mom is very she's an artist. So she's very, what's the word I'm looking for? She's just spontaneous and up for whatever, and so she sort of instilled that in me, and we'd go camping and do this and that, and everything was on a whim. And when you're in Europe, you can just go to other countries because they're a couple hours away by car, and so we were just constantly moving around. And so I think that has permeated and affected and sort of bled into the rest of my life. I almost feel uncomfortable sitting still for too long and being in one city for more than a week or two.
Right. When Nina first got into the studio, I don't know if you guys heard it, but we were talking about, New York City, where we live, and I asked you, have you ever lived here? And you had an interesting way of responding, which is sort of. And so I am now hearing the kind of background of how mobile you've been and why, how you can feel like you're in many places.
Yeah, for sure.
So also, what I think maybe people do not know about you, I didn't know about this until doing our research. you were very serious into gymnastics. Is that correct?
Yeah, but not
Ish?
not.
Okay, so
I mean,
the internet sometimes magnifies things.
no, for sure it does.
Always.
But also, I mean, I loved it. It was rhythmic gymnastics, just to be
Okay.
specific, because a lot of people, when they think of gymnastics, think of the Olympics and
Yeah.
you know, Gabby Douglas and all that. I didn't do that kind of gymnastics. I had like a ribbon and a hoop and
Okay.
and rhythmic specifically is that, but then also there's artistic gymnastics, which is like a group sort of like synchronized gymnastics with those same things. And so I was like a substitute on the Canadian national.
What?
That's pretty
That's
serious,
huge.
Nina.
You made it seem like it was just nothing.
Right, but I was a substitute. Let's
doesn't-
like
that doesn't
emphasize
matter.
the word substitute. I think I competed a few times, but not like I wasn't like the it girl. Like I wasn't going to the
Right,
Olympics. I
right.
started kind of late.
Was there the possibility of Olympics?
Not for me, really. No,
Okay.
I
But for
wasn't.
that team, that was something that
Yeah.
happens.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, for sure. Two of the girls on the team, because there was like 10 of us, 12 of us. And I think it's been this. So we're really going back in time. I should have done
Yeah,
my own
sorry.
research for my own history. I don't remember how many girls, I guess, were on at the same time. I think it's between 6 and 10, maybe, or doing like a choreographed routine. And then there was a couple of substitutes. But maybe you should fact check that for me.
I don't think anybody's going to hold you to it.
Yeah, well, don't worry.
You won't get canceled over this,
the
Nina.
rhythmic and aesthetic gymnastics.
That's true. That's true. I shouldn't put them
Community
down.
might.
Yep, I'm set now it's on me. Now it's on me.
But yeah, so two of the girls did go to the Olympics for just
Wow.
rhythmic as
Wow.
individual athletes, and I think she played. I mean, I don't remember what she placed, but she went pretty far.
But you didn't feel that kind of pressure. I guess 'cause I'm trying to understand, it seemed like maybe it was part of, just like the makeup of your environment and like where you were coming from or early in life. Like because, if you were seriously contending that's like a high stakes kind of high pressure thing. But it sounds like maybe you weren't, you were almost there. Or
I mean, I think it was a hobby at first, but I got pretty good pretty fast. And they were like, huh, this girl's like actually, like they sort of like came out of nowhere for them, because I started at, I think I was like 8 or 9, maybe 10. No, I was probably 9. And for the gymnastics world, that's like you're on your deathbed. Like,
It's so wild.
you know what I mean? Like they start at like 4,
Yeah.
maybe. So
that's true, yeah.
nobody like really considered that I would do anything with it. And then I sort of worked my way up, and they're like, oh, you're good enough to be a substitute. Like maybe if somebody dies, like you can come in. And so, yeah, it was really fun, and I loved it. But I think, especially as I hit puberty, and like I was a little bit more big chested compared to the other girls, and it quickly was like, this isn't going to be a long term thing. Plus, the expiration date for that world is like 18.
Very, young.
What was the
So-
transition into discovering your sort of talent in other performing arts areas like acting?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was sort of the start of it. I was also a very high energy child, and my parents were just kind of trying to shove me into whatever they could to sort of give themselves a break.
Yeah.
But from there, from the gymnastics and the dancing, I realized that I liked doing that. So then I wanted to go to a performing arts high school. So I auditioned for the performing arts high school in my area, which was called Wexford Collegiate. I got in there, and then, gravitated more towards theater and dance. I can sing a little, but not really that well, and not like Broadway-esque singing. And so, yeah, from there, it just sort of kind of happened. We had like a guest speaker come to the school for the drama class for the seniors, or not the seniors, just for like the drama class. And he was an on-camera acting coach that did like a little seminar thing with us. And then from there, I don't remember if I approached him after the class or if he approached me, but I started taking classes with him afterwards, and then he introduced me to my agent, and I started doing auditions, and that's kind of how. I remember being secretive about it, though, because my parents were really strict, and they didn't, we lived in the suburbs of Toronto, and God, I just sounded so foreign. Toronto. I live in the suburbs of Toronto. I've been away from home for too long. Toronto. And so, yeah, we, they didn't, they're immigrants. Like I don't have like any ties to the industry from my family. So they didn't really understand it. They didn't think it was serious. It was more of just like a, yeah, let her do it, like whatever thing. But then they started noticing that I'd be at home, like running my lines for auditions instead of doing my homework.
Yeah.
So then they imposed this rule that I'd have to read a book every week. And every week I'd have to submit a book report to my parents.
Wow.
And if I
Nina.
did that, then I was allowed to audition the following week. But if I didn't, then I had to like cancel all my auditions.
That's great.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
That's hardcore.
every-
Respect them.
Yeah.
Every home, whatever it is shaped like for a child actor, should be that way.